What if everything you thought you knew about one of music's biggest tragedies was completely wrong? For nearly 40 years, conspiracy theories have overshadowed the real story behind Ricky Nelson's death. Tabloids turned a mechanical failure into a moral scandal, destroying the reputation of America's golden boy with lies that spread faster than the truth. Today, we're finally separating the shocking reality from decades of fiction that fooled an entire generation. The clean-cut kid from America's favorite TV family had a secret weapon nobody saw coming. While parents across the country were terrified of Elvis and his hip-shaking rebellion, 17-year-old Ricky Nelson quietly walked into a recording studio in 1957 and changed everything. His first single, "I'm Walkin'," didn't just hit the charts. It exploded to number 4 on Billboard, making the boy next door an overnight rock sensation. But here's what's insane. He was doing this while still living at home, filming The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, and maintaining that wholesome image his parents had spent years building. The transformation was instantaneous and shocking. One day, he was America's sweetheart reading lines about homework and chores. The next, he was belting out rock and roll that made teenage girls scream. His follow-up, "Poor Little Fool," became the very first #1 hit on the newly created Billboard Hot 100, making history while wearing a Letterman sweater. By age 21, he'd sold over 35 million records and become one of the biggest stars in America, proving that rebellion could wear a clean-cut face. Most child actors crash and burn when they try music. Ricky Nelson became a legend while still getting home in time for family dinner. But success at that level comes with pressures most people never see, and the music industry in the late 1950s was brutal for young stars. Everyone expected Ricky to flame out like so many teen idols before him, a flash in the pan who'd be forgotten by graduation. When the 1960s arrived and music shifted toward the British invasion, industry insiders were already writing his obituary. The Beatles had landed, Bob Dylan was changing everything, and suddenly clean-cut rock seemed as outdated as sock hops. Most 50s stars either disappeared completely or became nostalgia acts playing county fairs. But Ricky made a move that shocked everyone. He completely reinvented himself musically while everyone was counting him out. He formed the Stone Canyon Band and pioneered country rock years before it became mainstream, influencing artists like the Eagles who would dominate the 1970s. His new sound was mature, sophisticated, and completely unexpected from the kid who sang "Hello, Mary Lou." But the most revealing moment of his entire career came at Madison Square Garden in 1972. The audience packed that legendary venue, expecting their teenage heartthrob frozen in time. And when he performed his newer material, they actually booed him off stage, demanding only the hits from 1958. What happened next showed his true character and changed everything about how we view artistic integrity in the music business. He turned that humiliation into "Garden Party," a brutally honest song about that exact concert experience that became his biggest comeback hit in over a decade. The lyrics were autobiographical, chronicling the pain of being rejected for growing as an artist. "You can't please everyone, so you've got to please yourself." It wasn't just a comeback. It was a manifesto about staying authentic in an industry that demands you stay exactly the same. Forever. The song proved that real artists don't just survive career setbacks, they transform them into their greatest triumphs. Ricky had officially evolved from teen idol to respected musician, earning credibility with critics who had dismissed him for years. But this artistic success couldn't protect him from what was happening behind the scenes in his personal life. Behind the music and movies, Ricky's personal world was collapsing in ways the public never suspected. His marriage to Kristen Harmon had looked perfect from the outside. Two beautiful people from prominent families living the American dream. She was the daughter of Heisman Trophy winner Tom Harmon and actress Elise Knox, making their 1963 wedding a media sensation that united entertainment and sports royalty. They had 4 children together, including future rock stars Gunnar and Matthew, and seemed to represent everything wholesome about American success. But fame, constant touring, and the pressures of maintaining a public image were slowly destroying their relationship from within. Ricky was on the road constantly, chasing a comeback that seemed always just out of reach, while Kristen struggled with the isolation of being married to someone who belonged more to his fans than to his family. Rumors of infidelity began surfacing, trust eroded, and by the early 1980s, their fairy tale marriage had become a public relations nightmare. The divorce was finalized in December 1982, leaving Ricky devastated and facing the prospect of rebuilding his entire life at age 42. The settlement was expensive, his career was struggling, and for the first time since he was 17, Ricky Nelson wasn't sure what came next. But by 1985, something remarkable was happening. He was finding his way back. At 45, Ricky was experiencing a renaissance that nobody saw coming. He'd found love again with Helen Blair, a relationship that friends described as genuinely happy and healing after years of personal turmoil. His music career was showing signs of life, with renewed interest in his country rock catalog and steady bookings that suggested a real comeback was possible. His children were grown and successful, proving the Nelson musical legacy would continue into the next generation. Most importantly, he seemed at peace with himself for the first time in years, no longer chasing the impossible dream of recapturing his teenage success, but instead building something sustainable and authentic. The future looked brighter than it had since the early 1970s, and those close to him noticed a lightness in his demeanor that had been missing for decades. He was finally ready to enjoy the next chapter of his life, which makes what happened on New Year's Eve 1985 not just tragic, but heartbreakingly unfair. Just when everything was coming together, fate decided to intervene in the cruelest way possible. December 31st, 1985, started like any other tour day, with no hint of the tragedy that would unfold before midnight. Ricky and his band had just finished successful shows in Orlando, Florida and Guntersville, Alabama, as part of a 3-stop Southern tour that was going better than expected. The crowds were enthusiastic, the performances were solid, and everyone was in good spirits heading to Dallas for a New Year's Eve concert that would cap off what had been a promising comeback year. The Douglas DC-3 aircraft took off from Guntersville at exactly 5:14 p.m. with 9 people on board: Ricky, Helen Blair, 5 band members, and 2 experienced pilots who had flown the route many times before. The weather was clear, the plane was routine for the era, and nothing suggested this flight would be any different from thousands of others. But somewhere over Texas, crew members began reporting problems with the cabin heater, which had been malfunctioning intermittently throughout the flight. The pilots tried repeatedly to get it working, unaware they were dealing with a piece of equipment that was about to turn their passenger cabin into a death trap. When the heater finally failed catastrophically, it happened fast. Smoke began filling the cabin so quickly that passengers had no time to react or escape. The pilots managed to crash land the burning aircraft in a cow pasture near DeKalb, Texas, just 2 miles from a proper landing strip. But by then, it was already too late for everyone in the passenger compartment. Both pilots survived by escaping through cockpit windows before the plane was consumed by flames, but the 7 passengers died not from the crash impact itself, but from smoke inhalation in the minutes before the plane hit the ground. Ricky Nelson, Helen Blair, and 5 talented musicians whose names history rarely remembers were gone in an instant, victims of mechanical failure at 35,000 feet. What should have been a celebration of new beginnings became one of music's most devastating losses. And within hours, the tragedy would be overshadowed by something even worse: lies that would define Ricky's legacy for decades to come. Within hours of the crash, before investigators had even reached the wreckage, tabloids began spreading rumors that would prove more persistent than the actual facts. Anonymous sources claimed the fire was caused by passengers freebasing cocaine, turning a mechanical failure into a moral scandal about rock star excess. These stories spread like wildfire through gossip magazines and entertainment shows, permanently staining Ricky's reputation before the National Transportation Safety Board could even begin their investigation. The timing couldn't have been worse. It was New Year's Eve, news was slow, and editors needed sensational stories to fill pages and airtime. The narrative was perfect for the era's obsession with celebrity downfalls: clean-cut teen idol revealed as drug user, killed by his own vices in poetic justice. But none of it was true, and the people spreading these lies either didn't care or didn't bother to wait for actual evidence. The NTSB spent an entire year investigating every aspect of the crash, interviewing witnesses, analyzing wreckage, and conducting thorough toxicology tests on all victims. Their findings were absolutely clear. A malfunctioning gasoline-powered cabin heater caused the fire that killed 7 people. The crew had been trying to repair the heater throughout the flight, and investigators found a broken fuel line in the wreckage that explained exactly how the fire started. Toxicology reports showed no significant drugs in anyone's system, completely debunking the conspiracy theories that had dominated headlines for months. But by then, the damage was irreversible. The lies had become more famous than the truth, and most people still believed the tabloid version over the official government investigation. For nearly 40 years, Ricky Nelson's death has been associated with drug use and rock star excess, rather than the mechanical failure that actually killed him. The conspiracy theories overshadowed not just the facts, but the memory of 7 innocent people who died because equipment failed when they needed it most. It became a perfect example of how sensational fiction can permanently overshadow boring reality, even when that reality is a matter of life and death. The people who spread those original lies never faced consequences for destroying reputations and traumatizing families with false information that millions of people still believe today. Here's what we really lost on December 31st, 1985. Not just a teen idol from the 1950s, but a genuine artist who had proven that reinvention and authenticity could coexist in the music industry. Ricky Nelson bridged multiple generations, introducing rock and roll to mainstream America while pioneering the country rock sound that influenced countless artists. His children Gunnar and Matthew would later top the charts in their own right with the band Nelson, proving the family's musical legacy lived on through tragedy. His television work captured an entire era of American family entertainment, while his music catalog spans multiple genres and decades of evolution. But most importantly, his story became a cautionary tale about how quickly truth can be buried under sensational lies designed to sell magazines rather than honor the dead. 7 people died because a heater failed at 35,000 feet. There was no conspiracy, no moral failing, no cosmic justice. Just a tragic mechanical failure that cost innocent lives and traumatized families who had to watch tabloids turn their grief into entertainment. The real mystery isn't how Ricky Nelson died, but why we're more fascinated by dramatic fiction than heartbreaking reality, and why lies often travel faster than facts in a world hungry for scandal over substance. The next time you hear Garden Party, Hello Mary Lou, or Travelin' Man, remember that behind every legend is a human being who deserved better than to have his final chapter written by tabloid speculation and conspiracy theories. Ricky Nelson's death wasn't mysterious, scandalous, or poetic. It was simply, tragically, preventable. 7 lives were lost because of equipment failure, not moral failure, and their memories deserve better than the lies that have overshadowed them for 4 decades. Sometimes, the most ordinary explanations are the most devastating of all. And sometimes, the truth is more important than the story we'd rather believe. If this story opened your eyes to how conspiracy theories can overshadow real tragedy, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more untold stories that separate fact from fiction. What other celebrity death conspiracies do you think need to be debunked? Let me know in the comments below.